I'm going to start today's message by asking you a question. What's the first thing that you think about when you wake up on Monday morning? Oh, no. That's right. What's the first thing that you think about when you wake up on Monday morning? For a lot of people, that's exactly what it is, right? I mean, for a lot of people, it's, I got to go back. I got to go back to school, right? I got to go back to work. I got to go back and walk down those same hallways, that same job, that same routine. Monday, for a lot of us, feels the opposite of Sunday, because Sunday feels spiritual, right? But what does Monday feel like? Monday feels like survival. And here's a question that a lot of Christians secretly carry. Does any of that Monday stuff actually matter to God? Like does God care what happens in your third period class? Or does it matter what happens on your lunch break? Does he care about that neighborhood that you drive through on your way to and back from work every day? And here's something that I want to say this morning. I think that God not only cares about those things, but God actually planned those things. Last week we talked about being called out, right? About God has called us into something bigger than ourselves. He's called us into this community that the word used for it is Ekklesia, an assembly of people living under the authority of Jesus. And we learned that that's actually where our identity starts, right? Our identity starts with who we belong to. But here's the thing about being called. Being called always leads somewhere. You don't get called out without being sent in. Did you hear that? You don't get called out without being sent in. And this week, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about being sent in. And why the places that you think are the most ordinary parts of your life might actually be the most important mission field in the world. There's a word that we throw around here and there. It's the word mission. And when I say mission, you probably think of something, right? In your brain, you go somewhere when I say the word mission. You think about, somebody getting on a plane and going to a foreign country and going there to build houses or start a school or feed people in a land far away. And look, that's real, right? That's a real mission, and it's an important mission, and we should support those, and we should pray for those. You might be called to one of those one day. But here's our problem. When we only connect the word mission to that, we accidentally start excluding ourselves from it, right? Because most of y'all are not getting on a plane this week, are you? Most of us are going to go back to the same school, to the same job. Many of you are going to do the same thing you did last week. And if mission only happens in that faraway place, what are we doing with our lives, right? And so this is the mistake that we keep making. We think that the church is this destination and the rest of our week is just filler. We think that Sunday belongs to God, but not the rest of the week. So we show up here and we fill up spiritually. And then what do the events of our week do to us? It drains us, right? Like we're being drained all week long. And so we come back the next Sunday to refill, and we just keep repeating that. But that's not what Jesus had in mind. We're going to go today to John chapter 20. We're going to look at something that happens there starting in verse 19. And this is right after the resurrection, right? So this is right after Jesus defeats death, right after he walks out of the grave. His disciples, the people who followed him for 3 years, are in this room, and they're in hiding. And they're locked into this room because they're afraid. They're afraid of the authorities that crucified Jesus, that those people may come and get them next. So here they are, they're hiding in this room, and something just wild happens. It says, on the evening of the first day of the week, when the disciples were together, with the doors locked for fear of the Jewish leaders, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed them his hands and side. The disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. Again, Jesus said, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you." Did you get that last part there? As the Father has sent me, I'm sending you. He doesn't say, well, congratulations through making it through the worst week of your life. Y'all need to take a break. He didn't say, why don't you just stay safe inside of this room, right? Stay right here until I come back for you. That's not what he said. He walks through locked doors, which is incredible. And the first thing he says to them here after resurrecting is to send them. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you. Jesus is saying, the same mission the Father gave to me, I am now handing this off to you. The same way that I was sent into the world, now you are being sent into the world. And this isn't a suggestion. This is not an optional upgrade. This is something that is core. It's the core identity of everyone who claims to follow Jesus. You are a sent person. What does that mean? What does that actually mean? What does it look like to be sent when you're not a preacher, when you're not a missionary, when you're not sure even if you know your Bible well enough yet? What does it mean to be sent? Well, let me say this morning. Being sent does not require a title, but it does require a posture. And let me explain that to you, right? Jesus was sent by the Father, and look at where he went, right? Like, he didn't set up a headquarters and make people come to him. What did he do? He went into their world. He showed up at their dinner tables. He walked through their towns. He touched people nobody else wanted to touch. He sat with people who were lonely and challenged. He made the powerful mad and welcomed the outsider. Jesus was sent into the mess. He was sent into the ordinary, into the real world where real people live. And we're called to do exactly the same thing. And so here's the definition that I want you to hold on to. Being sent means living with purpose in the spaces God has already placed you. Being sent means living with purpose in the spaces God has already placed you. It doesn't require a plane ticket. It requires awareness. It requires showing up differently in places you already are. And so let's break that down this morning practically, right? Your mission field has a zip code. Acts chapter 17, verse 26. There in that section, you have the Apostle Paul, and he's in Athens, and he's witnessing to the philosophers who meet there. And he says something that usually we skim over pretty quickly, but I think it's significant, right? Because he's talking about how people got all over the earth, how they came to inhabit the earth. And in that section, it says that God marked out their appointed times in history and the boundaries of their lands. God marked out their appointed places in history and the boundaries of their lands. And what that tells us is that God is not random, is he? And where he puts people? God's not random in where he puts people. The town you live in, this town, it's not an accident. The school district that you're in, not an accident. The neighborhood, the family, the job, the friend group, none of that is by accident. God has placed you exactly where he wants you to be, with a specific group of people at a specific moment in history on purpose. Which means, and here's where it gets real, the people around you every single day, those people are not random. You know what they are? They're your mission field. The kid in your class that seems to have everything together, but you can tell there's something falling apart at home, that's your mission field. The coworker who's always angry and nobody can figure out why, that's your mission field. The people you've lived next door to for 3 years and you don't even know their name, that's your mission field. And you've been placed among those people intentionally. And so I want us to look at 3 different postures we're supposed to have as people, as the people of God. 3 ways of thinking, 3 ways of acting that turn our everyday life into a sent life. First posture. Presence over performance. One of the most powerful things about how Jesus did ministry is that he actually showed up. Like, he was present with people. When he was with people, he gave them his full attention, his full engagement. When Jesus was in a place, he was fully there. Think about that in our world. In our world, everyone is what? Everyone is distracted. Every conversation that we have is competing with a notification. We are there physically, but mentally we are somewhere else. And if we were genuinely present with people right now, it would be considered a superpower, right? It really would. Being sent, it doesn't mean we always have the answers. Sometimes it just means being there. Sometimes it just means sitting with someone who's going through it. Asking a real question and actually wanting an answer. Choosing to actually look at someone in the eye instead of always looking on your phone. Because presence, actually being there, what does that communicate? that communicates value, right? Like when you give someone your full attention, what are you saying to that person? You matter to me. And in a world where a lot of people feel invisible, especially younger people, man, that might be the most gospel thing you can ever do, right? That could be the most Jesus thing that you do this week. Posture number 2, serving without an agenda. See, Jesus didn't serve people because he was trying to hit a ministry quota. Why did he serve people? He served people because he saw them and he loved them. And that love pushed him onward to be with those people. And if we're honest, a lot of our serving comes with strings attached, right? We're nice to people. Why? Because we want something from them. We help. Why? Because we want credit. We're friendly. Why? Because we want to be liked. That's not a sent life. That's a social strategy. A sent person serves with no strings. What does that mean? That means you stick up for the kid everyone else is ignoring, even though it's going to cost you social capital. That means you cover up for your coworker even when they've never done the same for you, right? That kind of serving doesn't make sense to the world, and that's actually the point. It points to something beyond normal human behavior. It points to Jesus. And posture number 3, words that match the life. Because at some point, presence and service have to be connected to the message, right? Presence and service have to be connected to Jesus. Like Paul says in Romans 10, 14 and 15, how then can they call on the one they have not believed in? How can they believe in the one whom they have not heard? How can they hear without someone preaching to them? And how can anyone preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. Living the good life in front of people opens the door, but at some point, you got to walk through it. At some point, words matter. At some point, you got to tell them why you are the way you are. Now, it doesn't mean you have to have all the answers. It doesn't mean you have to be a theologian. It doesn't mean you memorize a script. But a sent person is someone who, when the moment comes and someone says, why are you like that? Why do you act that way? Why are you like this? How are you handling this so well? You don't just shrug it off. A sent person says, let me tell you about Jesus. Because your testimony isn't a sermon. Your testimony is a story. And your story, with all of its mess and all of its grace, is a powerful thing. But what about when it's hard? I don't want you to feel like this is some kind of motivational pep talk that fades by Tuesday. Living as a sent person is a hard thing. Because what's going to happen, you're going to try to show up for someone and they're going to brush you off. You're going to serve without an agenda and people are going to take advantage of you. You're going to open your mouth about Jesus and someone's going to laugh at you, or they're going to ghost you, or they're going to make you feel like an idiot for caring. That's not a surprise to Jesus. But look at what he does right after he says, I am sending you. In John chapter 20, verse 22, and Jesus said to them, peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you. And with that, he breathed on them and said, receive the Holy Spirit. He doesn't say, I'm sending you, and then he just walks away from them, right? That's not how he does it. He breathes on them. He fills them. He gives them what they need to actually do the thing he's asking them to do. And that's important. Because sending always comes with supply. God doesn't give you an assignment and then leave you to figure it out on your own. He gives us the Spirit. The same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead lives in everyone who belongs to Jesus. And that Spirit is your strength. And that Spirit is your courage and your wisdom when you do not know what to say. You are not doing this all alone. Let me paint a few pictures for you this morning, right? Two people. Both show up on Sunday morning. Both sing the songs. Both even might even take notes. But they live very different lives Monday through Saturday. The first person we're just going to call Jordan. Jordan loves church. Gets a lot out of the sermons. Feels close to God on Sunday mornings. But Monday through Saturday, Jordan mentally checks out. The job is just the job. The neighborhood is just a neighborhood. The people around him every day are just in the background. He never really connects to faith. He never really connects faith to the rest of his life. He's just waiting for Sunday to feel spiritual again. And the second person we'll call Alex. Alex loves church. Same sermon. But Alex has started to think differently about Monday through Saturday. Alex walks into work thinking, I've been placed here on purpose. Alex notices the coworker who eats lunch alone. Alex asks real questions. Alex serves without making it a big deal. Alex isn't perfect. He stumbles. He makes mistakes. He has bad weeks. But Alex has a posture of being sent. And slowly, over time, people start to notice. Both go to church. And you see the Ekklesia, God's people, it's not a building we visit, it's a people we become. And that people is meant to be scattered throughout every corner of the world, in every neighborhood, every school, every workplace, every family, being salt and light and presence and love. What if we actually believed this? What if we actually believed we have been sent? Not someday. Not after we get more qualified, not when we understand the Bible better, not when we get our life all straightened out, right now. With what you have and where you are. What would that change about how you walk into school tomorrow? What would that change about how you treat the person who gets on your nerves, how you use that 5 minutes before class starts, what you say when someone's falling apart and they ask you, how do you stay so steady? Well, the early church, the original Ekklesia, here's this group of people that were told in the book of Acts, one of the criticisms of the early church was that they turned the world upside down. How did they do it? How did they turn the entire world upside down? Not because they had a great building and a big budget and a famous preacher. They turned the world upside down because ordinary people filled with the Spirit showed up in ordinary places with extraordinary love. And that's what you are. That's what you are. You are the Ekklesia. You are a people called out and then sent in. Sent into your school, your street, your family, your town, sent with purpose, sent with the presence of the Holy Spirit, sent to make the invisible God visible. So here's your challenge this week. I want you to name your mission field. Name it. It might be a specific person that you're thinking about. It might be a specific place. It might be a moment that you're going into that you need to show up differently there. Not perfectly, intentionally. With presence, with service, with words when the time is right. You've been called, you've been filled, and you have been sent. Go.